going through ravaging grounds, taking dangerous risks, killing people, and sacrificing yourself for someone you just met. Sounds fun! Let's play! In many games you play as a hero who rescues or helps someone in need. But do they actually need you, or are you just helping them to deal with your own insecurities and needs? Traveling with a stranger, sacrificing themselves and hurting other people, just to keep you safe, to rescue them. Is it a noble cause, or are they suffering from the white knight complex? Let's see what psychology has to say. The white knight complex refers to someone who has a strong need to rescue or save others, especially vulnerable people or people in distress. The term white knight is often used to describe someone who acts heroically to save someone else, often a great personal cost. Individuals with the white knight complex may have a strong desire to be seen as a hero or savior and go to great lengths to help others, even when it's not in their own best interest. They may feel a sense of responsibility or obligation to help others, and may even derive a sense of self-worth from their ability to rescue others. And you can rescue me by pressing that subscribe button. While the desire to help others can be a positive trait, the white knight complex can become problematic when it leads to codependent relationships. Codependency occurs when the person relies on the need of another person for their own self-worth or emotional well-being. When this happens, the codependent person has trouble setting boundaries, saying no, and doesn't take enough care of their own needs. They feel responsible for the other person's well-being and neglect their own needs in the process. Also, they can act impulsively, without considering the possible consequences that could even make it dangerous for themselves or the other. In The Last of Us, Telltale The Walking Dead, and Bioshock Infinite, we have three heroes who all have something in common. They all go through great lengths to protect and save someone they just met. Joel meets Ellie, and he loses himself in order to protect her. Lee meets Clementine, and he puts himself at risk over and over again in order to keep her safe. And Booker terrorizes the city just to get Elizabeth out of there. Are they just doing the right thing? And are they helping them for the sake of them being a good person? Or is there some underlying psychological issue present? Even though a lot may apply to all three of them, today we will focus on Joel Milley to see if he is a white knight. Before we can assess Joel, we need to dive a bit deeper into the white knight complex. So what is it exactly? There are a few factors through which you can determine if someone has the complex. As always, we are only able to see a glimpse of the character, and we don't know what they are thinking or feeling, so we will have to go off on what we see in the games. The first clue on how to recognize a white knight is their over-involvement in others. Individuals with the white knight complex may become overly involved in other people's problems, even when they are not asked for help. They need to be involved, because their own self-worth is dependent on it. So they become clingy, scared that if they don't help others, they will leave. Paradoxal, by being so clingy, people will leave them more often, and so it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The second clue is their need for recognition. White knights may have a strong desire for recognition or validation for their heroic acts. They seek praise or admiration from others for their selfless behavior, even though of course it isn't selfless, even if they might see it that way. The recognition they get gives them the validation that they are useful and are the hero they so badly want to be. If they don't get the recognition they crave, they even can become angry or aggressive with the person they so desperately wants to help. The third clue is codependency. Like talked about before, individuals with the white knight complex may struggle with codependency and may have difficulty setting boundaries or saying no to others' requests for help. They also are drawn to partners or friends who are in need of rescue or assistance. But this also works the other way around. If the white knights find themselves in a situation where they are in need of rescue or support from someone they typically view as someone they want to rescue, it can have significant impact on them. This experience can challenge their own identity, self-perception, and the belief they hold about themselves and their role as helper or rescuer. It creates feelings of discomfort, shame, or a sense of failure.
Well, you're glad I didn't, right?
I'm glad I didn't get my head blown off by a goddamn kid.
The fourth clue is their impulsivity. White knights may act impulsively and without considering the consequences of their action. They may jump into situations without fully assessing the risk or potentially negative outcomes. The goal is to help the other. The goal isn't to get the best outcome. So white knights may act to help the other, even if that means that the consequences may be bigger than if they didn't do anything at all. The last clue is the neglect for their own needs. White knights may neglect their own needs and well-being in favor of helping others. They may sacrifice their own time, energy and resources for the sake of others, even when it's not in their best interest. Taking it even further, they might even risk their own life or the life of others to protect the ones they love. So, what actually causes this? And can we make a case why Joel may suffer from this complex? There are a few reasons how this can develop. People who have experienced traumatic events such as abuse, neglect, or other forms of mistreatment may develop a strong desire to rescue or save others as a way of coping with their own trauma. This behavior may stem from a need to regain a sense of control over their own lives by helping others, or from a desire to prevent others from experiencing the same pain and suffering they themselves have endured.
Come on, baby, please. I know, baby. I know.
Some individuals may have a strong sense of idealism and a desire to make the world a better place. They may see themselves as crusaders for justice and may feel a moral obligation to help others. This idealism doesn't have to be something positive either. They idealize certain persons or situations without acknowledging that these persons or situations may be flawed too. Some cultures or societies may place a high value on self-sacrifice and service to others, which can contribute to the development of the white knight complex. Additionally, social norms around gender roles may contribute to the development of the white knight complex in men, who feel a strong sense of duty to protect and rescue women and kids. The whole game focuses on the relationship between Ellie and Joel. They develop from strangers to a parent-child relationship. At first, Ellie is just cargo, and that's what Joel also tries to tell himself. But after just a few days or weeks, he can't shake the feeling of protecting her and sacrificing everything to do so. We can notice this the most with Joel's impulsivity and his neglect of his own needs. He goes far and beyond and does unspeakable things just to keep Ellie safe. He doesn't hesitate to run into a burning house, or jumping off a bridge, or risking his own life, massacring a hospital full of doctors who are trying to save the world. He has one mission, and that's to protect Ellie. He idealizes Ellie, and through the trauma he endured with his own daughter, he feels like he has to be the white knight who saves Ellie from whatever the world throws at him. Good thing treating the white knight complex is possible. The most important and most difficult step is to identify and challenge your underlying beliefs. Individuals with the white knight complex may hold beliefs about themselves or the world that contribute to their need to rescue others. For example, they may believe that their value as a person is tied to their ability to help others, or that they are responsible for other people's happiness. Identifying and challenging these beliefs can be an important first step in changing the pattern of behavior. Another big step would be to develop healthy boundaries. White knights may struggle with setting healthy boundaries and saying no to others' requests for help. Learning to set boundaries and prioritizing one's own need is an important part of treating the white knight complex. This is often a very scary step to take, because white knights have the belief that if they set boundaries, they won't be needed anymore, and people will leave them. But more often than not, the opposite happens. By setting boundaries, people enjoy being around you more, and so you can develop a healthy relationship with them. Underlying a lot of these problems is the lack of self-esteem that has to be rebuilt. Individuals with a low self-esteem may be more susceptible to the white knight complex. Building self-esteem can be done in different ways. For example, self-care, positive self-talk, challenging self-limiting thoughts, setting goals and working towards them, and celebrating mistakes can help individuals feel more confident and less dependent on external validation. But it is also okay to not want to improve all the time, and so you can also practice self-compassion. White knights may be hard on themselves, feel guilty when they are not able to help others. Practicing self-compassion and learning to be kind to oneself can help individuals break the cycle of self-criticism and guilt. It is okay to not be needed. And as said before, being helpful is still a positive trait and is a rewarding experience. It's just about the way you go about it. So, to develop healthier ways of helping is also extremely helpful, such as volunteering for a cause one is passionate about, or supporting others in a way that is not codependent, can help individuals feel fulfilled without sacrificing their own well-being. Of course, it's okay to put your own needs aside to help someone sometime, but if it becomes a pattern, then it might become trouble. And last, like with most psychological topics, Therapy and counseling can also be a helpful resource in treating the white knight complex. A mental health professional can provide support, guidance and feedback as individuals work to change their patterns of behavior and develop healthier ways of relating to others. It's really difficult to challenge this complex alone. With a therapist, you can be guided to becoming a healthy version of the person that you want to be. So, there is some evidence that Joe is a white knight. But you know who really is a white knight? David. Sure, he has rifle aimed at him most of the time, but let's be honest, he could easily have killed Ellie whenever he wanted. So let's take a look. Over-involvement? Check. Need for recognition? Check. Codependency? Check. Neglect of their own needs? Check. Impulsivity? Check. A white knight in the most awful way. So, maybe it's time to see a therapist. I'm sure there are plenty around in the apocalyptic world you live in. It's also okay to just let everyone around you die. At least that way no loser YouTuber will question if you're actually a white knight or not. So, will you subscribe?